All right. Hello, Radio 2 students, part-timers, age Radio 223, and let's see, Radio 2. I'm just going to quickly change that there, that it's that much of a difference, but okay. All right. So, what we are going to do in this short lesson, and just also note that the next lesson will be in two parts because it is a long lesson about news. But in lesson 45, we're going to briefly actually go. It's only 10 slides, but I do want to go through the exercises here in the textbook as well to make sure that your guidance and that you are now and again, I'm saying with me touching base on how to do the exercises, that you are given the exercises that you know are part of the lessons, that you do complete them as well. But we are going to do quite a short lesson here on compiling music. It is part of your F3 as the last question, if I remember correctly, which I think I do. So let's get started. Let's begin. Okay, so compiling music. Let's first immediately start with activity 5, which is on page 181 in the textbook. I'm gonna narrate some of the questions, and then we're gonna look at some of the answers at the same time. And then there is a kind of like a springboard beginning question and Q&A for yourself, an exercise that you can complete and have a bit of a walkthrough to practice what you know already and what you have learned from first year and in this year right now. Okay, so activity 5 reads as follows. Number 1, and you can read with me again, page 181. Explain the difference between the adult contemporary radio or adult contemporary radio, ACR, and contemporary hit radio, CHR music formats, and give an example of each in South Africa. If I'm not mistaken, this is literally the question from your from your assignment. Okay, and just to quickly run through that. Number 1, the contemporary hit radio format focuses on pop, rock, and dance hits, such as radio stations that play current bestsellers. They rely to a limited extent on playlists, golden oldies, and recurrents, and CHR radio stations mainly tend to play either rock music or dance music. Examples of them are 5 YFM and Good Hope FM. I just want to amend that, particularly contemporary hit radio, if we have to be quite specific here in Gauteng, actually refers to our 947s that are licensed as contemporary hit radio. These formats 5 YFM and Good Hope are sublisted as CHR stations. And for example, let's say YFM is, if we speak about it, you go to their site themselves as well. They are listed as urban youth alternative as well. Okay. All right. Then the adult contemporary radio format, so ACR, on music for adult audiences is where the format is focused on. The music is softer than CHR. A significant difference between the two is that AC relies to a large extent on playing oldies and recurrents. Examples of an AEC station is like Jacaranda FM or KFM, and Kaya FM fit those bills correctly, but Jacaranda is our predominant AC station here in South Africa. Okay. Number 2 says you need to visit the 5FM site and you can use the FAQ link, so the frequently asked questions link. Look up the guidelines for submitting a song and explain why you think they have these specific requirements for submissions. Right. So I don't want to go and give you the full the full disclosure on that. We do cover part of that in the lesson as well. But they are the criteria that we are looking for. Should I say, what am I saying? Let me just see, explain what you think. It's sort of down before I get to number 3, why you think they have these specific requirements. Okay, so some of the requirements must be presented to the station in digital format, for example, which needs to, for example, as an explanation, it needs to be high quality. It needs to be something that is definitely playable on radio. Another point that is listed here, all songs need to be edited for radio. In other words, no swearing. And that is because we do not want any complaints or any submissions to the BCCSA. Another point here is register the song with the Southern African Music Rights Organization, or SAMRO. So this will ensure that you own the rights to the song and that it cannot be copied by another artist. And I want you to go through all of them so that you understand that fully. Number three, so the last in that activity 5, is briefly discuss each of the 8 playlisting criteria as described by Geiger. So this is also yet another question from your assignment. Let's go through some of them, and then I'm not going to go through all of them so that I didn't give you, well, I mean, this is literally giving you the answer, but it also is right here in the textbook. So I see nothing being, I say no rule being broken here. So the 8 playlisting criteria is: 1, for example, format. The track must fit the station's format. So if it is a Christian station, then you need to have a Christian format, and you've got to have a song that speaks of God, for example, or guidance around religion, or whatever it may be, something inspirational in that sense, right? If it's AC, CHR, etc., it needs to fit the mold of that format as well. 2, the production must be well produced. 3, the radio edits. Obviously, we have to edit out that offensive language. And again, radio edits also, if it is demeaning to women or demeaning to anyone in specific race, class, or whatever it may be, it also might be questionable. And will be up for debate whether or not it should be played or can be played on radio for a public and a predominant audience. The hook, the track must contain something catchy, like a likable chorus, right? So if you remember in the lesson, or should I say in the assignment, that we mentioned and we talk about the hook, right? So as I said to you, it's about that particular chorus point where you know it's the one part that, and the first part of a song that you can remember and you kind of hum to yourself. That's really important. Familiarity, the track must resonate within the mainstream audience as a familiar sound. So that is something that again has to do with the catchiness and whether it is a well-produced song and something that people do like. When it is familiar, that means it also is not brand new. It is a risk for a station to go and break new music. It normally is tested by looking at other charts around the world to see how it's been doing on social media, to be seeing its ratings on, like you say, like there's a point about Shazam and about Spotify, etc., to have a look at things like that. Accessible, is it accessible? The track must be accessible to the most part of the target audience or target demographic, right? 7, international charts. Has it hit any international charts? What is the number? And what is obviously its progress or success? And is it a taste maker? So if the song has the potential to be the next big hit, or is it eligible at least for a number one of those, say a number one of those positions in the top 40? So that is the criteria, and I'm sure that is going to assist you with your assignment to go and get those marks there. After that, I want you to go have a listen to 2 hours of a commercial South African radio station. So once again, you can go and choose any one of those that are in your textbook, as it is premeditated there for you. So if you do also offer up those answers, I will mark them correct in your assignment. Listen, or list all the songs that you do here in order that you heard, in the order that you heard them, by artist and song title. Use Shazam, please, to get the artist and the title. And so you're going to sit there and then you're going to attempt to figure out what or how many categories the station actually has, right? So try to place each song heard in a category, then try to create a rotation clock as per table 5.4 on page 177. So just want to just quickly see if I haven't put that in already. So see, so there's submission criteria, submissions. Okay, so let's just quickly, I'm just gonna go and refer to page 177. If you look at point number 7, it says design a basic format clock. So once the categories are filled, programming clocks need to be created. Geiger, and that is quoted from his or her. Again, I said I do not know who or what this person is. So 2013 demonstrates how. Oh, there we go. He likes making use of fast repeating best or basic category sequences for the purpose of creating a consistent flow. The importance of music rotation is to keep people tuned in, and that is very important so that we have time spent listening, average on that growing and growing. If we have more people listening to the radio for much longer, then obviously they are consuming the products that we are also selling to them. We have obviously that listenership will go up as well. If someone else is listening for a longer time, that means they like it. And 10 to 1, if you want to gain some new listenership or grow some listenership, then we know we are on a winning formula. There's many reasons why this, obviously, time spent listening increasing. That is a good thing. So at the top of the hour, so TOTH, it starts with a domestic classic in a particular case. We're just saying there, okay, a primary current, so domestic classic, so younger. So a primary current, then imaging, foreign classic, older, D1, so domestic classic, younger, and imaging. I would put the imaging in between. I'm guessing imaging is, I'm quite confidently guessing that imaging is in between songs because there are service elements, or not service elements, there's secular elements on their own. Then there's a recurrent hit. So, in other words, something that is popular. Okay. Domestic classic older, imaging, foreign classic younger, secondary current. So, in other words, something that's a bubbling under, right? Something that is becoming famous, or something that was famous and that is becoming less famous. It is following down the charts and becoming less popular. It's been heard enough and people can understand that. Okay. So, I would like you to go there and have a good reference point for your assignment. I'm going to carry on with the lesson and then we will move into the next lesson for news. Okay, so let's talk about like features and specialty music shows. Again, I'll do some of the points and then I'll describe as I move along. So most radio stations tend to narrowcast rather than broadcast. What does that actually mean? It means to aim a broadcast at a narrowly defined area or audience, and that means thereby increasing their target market listener base. So it is better to be good or great to somebody for a specific something than try to attempt to be something great to a whole bunch of very different people, right? So we've seen that kind of case study, and I've done obviously some research in my textbook that had a station, and many stations have that made that mistake of thinking that we wanted maybe to appeal to more people, so maybe we should put a number of varied things on our stations, right? So when it comes to music, maybe we should play a little bit of rock, maybe we should play a little bit of pop, maybe a little bit of what is it, K-pop, as well as Kwaito, and it sounds like it's a hot mess at the end of the day. People are listening to the station one because of its format, and that is where you are going to get a number of your listeners, because again, music is the main reason why people listen to radio. Sticking to your frequency, right? Okay, sticking to your station, sticking to your brand. So what we want to do is make sure that we are playing the best songs, and we rotate them in a way that's balanced and again keeps them listening longer. So the rotation in the plays is fresh and it is first on our priority as a music compiler. Okay, so even with the most targeted programming and consistent research, so there's just an error. Let me just quickly fix that there. On in caps, Chris. There we go. Okay, research. There will be periods where your listeners will not be available. That's obvious, and we know that. But again, it's also where someone else might be available, like for example, like a nighttime, or for example, a weekend, or an early morning, or whatever it may be. Right? This is the primary reason for speciality programming as well. So, for example, on a Friday night, a Saturday, or a Sunday, speciality programs are key to actually put into your programming and make people listen for a different reason that they're listening to between, let's say, the Monday and the Friday to the late Friday afternoon, right? So, like a music show is also very popular. Like a top 40 is the most popular or most known, I say, in terms of popularity. And understanding a top 40 is a speciality program because it is all about the top or most favorite or best songs that are currently playing on the station and are popular with the listeners. And we know how top 40 works, you know that. But other things, we can do like a top 10 R&B classics. a show or a top 10 R&B classics hour and can have that on a Sunday afternoon. That can work really well. We can also do like a dance formatted show on a Friday evening, but the format must still match the format of the station. So let's say you are AC, you're gonna, let's say, remix some AC songs, you're gonna remix some CHR songs if you are. If you're urban, you're gonna put the extended mixes in there, or you're gonna do, let's say, like a deep house or a deep quieter house or whatever it may be, right? So just remember that it needs to match the format at the end of the day. Each of these shows' programming is different and tailored to the audience's likely behavior to be listening at that particular time. All right, so the formula for specialist programming is as follows. Here we go. The potential listeners during the low listener time on the station minus the current listenership is equal to the potential targeted programming, right? So what that basically says that, okay, cool, those ones that we have. So our current listenership, the biggest amount, right? And we're gonna go for the lowest amount that we look realistically for the lowest amount possible that we could get, let's say, on a Saturday afternoon when people are really having a good time. They're really enjoying the weekend. Radio is 10 to 1 not going to be a priority in their lives at that point. And we go and do the potential listeners, like I say, during the low listener time on the station minus the current uh, listener should give us a negative number. Agree, right? It should give us something in arrears, but we have a potential to also grow a certain amount. So it's not really scientific formula. It's more for you to understand that. Listen, there are a number of people that do love our station regardless. Like again, they are listening Monday to Friday or Monday to Sunday at different areas or different times for different reasons, but we could also rope them in to involve this particular speciality show in their lifestyle on a Saturday afternoon or Sunday morning, for example, right? Talk radio stations run talk shows and segments throughout the entire week. So with the change in programming on weekends, you'll definitely find that they include sport, lifestyle, and they do include some music shows, best of shows, that type of thing. You'll even hear a best of show predominantly on contemporary. I'm saying contemporary commercial stations like Jacaranda. You will find the best of Martin Bester that'll be playing on a Sunday. I always seem to not catch it. When I say catch it, as I'm driving to work on Sunday, it comes in and then I kind of switch it off because it's not really interesting for me. But it might be to a Jacaranda listener, right? So weekend talk shows are usually, or weekend talk is usually lower, as the lifestyle of the weekend listener is a much more relaxed type of feel. They don't want to talk about politics. They want to talk about, again, something that's matching their lifestyle at that point. Maybe if it is sports, then it's rather talk to some commentators or have some commentators in or have some sports stars in, or let's talk about the fixtures. Let's see, I don't know, maybe let's put some bits into that. I don't know. It depends on whether we have a sponsorship by one of the betting companies or the gambling companies. I don't know, whatever it may be, right? We can do that. Something fun. Okay, so features and music speciality continued. So when it comes to speciality shows, there are generally just two types of block programming and two show programming. What are the two differences? Block programming occurs over weekends, focusing on speciality music programming, while show programs are compiled by specialists in different genres, such as 60s and 70s, music from Africa, and the diaspora, right? These shows, sorry, I had to just pause that moment for that particular word, right? And the diaspora, right? So obviously I mean, just the replication of Africa in different segments and sectors in our lives, right? These shows ensure that their presenters are definitely recognized experts in their field. Often we get some people from TV or from quote unquote the streets. So they could be social influencers. They could be, again, if we are talking about, like I say, 60s and 70s, they could be uh, some, I don't know, they might have had some success in making sure that they have oh man, maybe made their name within that particular sector, and maybe they're good club DJs for some classic nights. I don't know, like a Tony Blewett, that type of thing, right? So specialty programming requires monitoring and definitely tweaking consistently, and specialty programming definitely needs a producer at the end of the day, right? Okay, so features and speciality examples. For example, the bridge, Oscar Man, Anele in the club, is classic or not. So those are features, right? So Oscar Man is a very popular. It is probably maybe if I'm just going to put it out there, probably the most well-known feature at the moment, thanks to Bonang. And again, whoever is, I'm not too sure. That show keeps changing hosts. At the current moment, the feature still remains, but the host who changed doesn't really matter. The feature is much bigger than the show is, and the show host is in that particular situation, classic or not, is it's kind of an old, very simple one. If I do recall, I don't know if Anele is still doing it. Again, not really an avid listener of the Breakfast Club. Specialist music shows. So again, the top 40, as I said, they're powered by CTM, Kaya FM, Elite Nights, Metro FM Sound, and stuff like that. Right. So cool. I think you understand the differences between all of them. So let's quickly have a look at rounding up what it is that you would even look at in the first question while you are busy doing that exercise. And again, once again, looking at the differences between the one in your book, which is the one that's its playlist at 5 FM, if I'm not mistaken. Again, every station will have, if you go to their website, you'll have a particular outlet. There'll be a tab. So excuse me, a tab somewhere that allows you to go and click and submit your music to a music compiler. Right. Again, once again, let's have a look at, let's say, some of the criteria and how to submit. For example, in this situation is at Metro, right? So music at metrofm.co.za, right? You can't just go in there with a CD or whatever it is. It's a lot of physical PT that people don't want. It becomes a bit messy. In this way, we can actually categorize immediately digitally as a music compiler and then go through the processes within the station, whatever the business process is, according to that particular station's policy on how to deal with and take in submissions, right? All submissions are registered and details of persons are recorded, and that is again on the site itself. All tracks are listened to within the playlist meeting. The tracks are defined with regards to accepted, shelved, or held over. What does that actually mean? So we might shelve or we might hold over them. In other words, we might hold them over just for a second, for a shorter time, or we might shelve them for maybe a longer period of time, or maybe shelve them completely or altogether. So we're not interested. It's not for us, and so on. We move on, right? So some of the criteria, again, the song fits within the station's format set in the music policy guidelines, which are available to the submitter, right? So the level of production is equivalent to that of international standards. Should the track be local? So the track is a radio edit. Song duration needs to be about 3.5 minutes to 4 minutes long. There are no explicit lyrics. The tracks have an excessive amount of strong language. So again, the tracks are female friendly as per the music policy guidelines. The tracks are of a duration of not more than, there we go, 4 minutes to make it radio friendly. No instrumental tracks will be accepted due to a station's mandate. And that makes sense, right? Again, okay. So when submitting, make sure that you are making, like, for example, this comes from your book, right, as well, or is in your book as well, right? So playlist at 5fm.co.za, attach a 5 meg MP3 file. So please, when you are submitting music or when people are submitting music, they must adhere to every single one of these particular prerequisites, right? So these rules that we're putting out there include a download link for a WAV version. The WAV version is considered to be higher quality because it is a bigger file at the end of the day. All songs need to be radio edit, no swearing. Again, include a short biography of yourself so that we can go check out maybe your profile online, right? Excuse me, must not exceed 6 MB. Register the song with Samro. The artwork that you do want to also include will have some requirements depending again on one station to station. So 800 by 800 pixels at a minimum, and you can probably then also submit a higher resolution image of yourself. It always does help to do that. Okay. So in the second last slide there, music departments manage the intake of music at music radio stations with precision and care, right? So it is a full-time job. It's not a job that someone shares with another responsibility. We have a music compiler for a station, and that is for a commercial station. It keeps him busy the whole day. It keeps him busy the whole week. It keeps him busy the whole year. Right? They keep careful record of what they receive, both from whom and when. So there is a databasing system and a save, obviously a database system. That's the best word for it, right? This information is important to make sure that the station is sticking to what, obviously, all the format and prevention. Sorry, let me do that sentence again. So the information is important to make sure that the station is sticking one to its format, to one obviously preferential treatment when it comes to what music is picked for a playlist. And once the music has been accepted, listed to, and logged by the music manager or compiler, the songs are optioned for playlisting depending on which category they fall under. Right. When I say category, again, we saw there, like, is it recurrent? Is it something of an oldie? Is it a bubbling under? Whatever it is, right? Okay. Recurrent A, recurrent B, recurrent C. There isn't a perfect example to give you in terms of how we break up the categories at a station, because each station will have, let's say, a number of, let's say, oldie categories, a number of, let's say, bubbling under categories, a number of local categories, etc., right? So that also is updated on an ongoing basis, not necessarily daily. That's too much work that is wasted from the music compiler's capacity, but rather maybe monthly, maybe even maybe I would say about monthly is pretty good. But let's say entering and I'd say entering new music. So let's say loading. There we go. Loading new music into the system is a daily thing, and making sure that obviously again quality and obviously inclusion into the playlists and creating the playlists, compiling the playlists is obviously the full-time job, right? Okay. So ending the very short lesson there, submission to stakeholders, four major record labels that you should know about. So David Gresham Records, Super Black Tapes, also known for Deep House, Gallo Records, it's a South African pop and traditional music label, right? Kalawa Jazz Me, also known for Kwaito and for I hope I said that correctly. So Siakaka, right? You can go and check out those. I think they are clickable links. There you go. They are clickable links that you can go check out for yourself. Please do go check out for yourself and explore their mandates, explore what they're all about, and go and find out more. Again, mastery within all our sectors as a radio practitioner is very important. So go put in the time. I know that you will. And I'm going to end this lesson over there.